John Williams' brother just made news by revealing the length of the Rise of Skywalker soundtrack. And he said a couple other things. There's actually way more to this story than you have heard.
It's like the news, but for nerds.
Today's shout out goes to Mr. Negative. Indeed, Nightmare will be the villain for Doctor Strange 2. Make sure you stay to the end of this video where we will ask another nerd card question. What's up, everybody? Happy Monday to you. I'm Josh. Welcome back to the den. And I know Mondays can be rough, but you know what really helps out a tough case of the Mondays? Smashing that like button! Smash that like button if you hate Mondays. And even if you don't, just smash that like button. Come on. Okay, so I want to talk about this report all about John Williams' brother, giving us a bunch of info about Rise of the Skywalker, including how much music is being made, kind of hints at the length of the film. There are a few other things that he said that are pretty crazy as well. But then at the end of the video, I want to go into a conspiracy theory I have about a conspiracy theory that is making the rounds on the internet about Star Wars.
I'm so damn confused.
Okay, so this story is all coming from the Academy of Scoring Arts. They did a score study of Jurassic Park recently, and John Williams' brother was there. They're talking about scoring, what it was like to create the score for that film, but he also talked about his brother's next project, which will be The Rise of Skywalker. And he said literally this: there's 135 minutes of music to write, so that kind of tells you how long the film is.
Explosion.
I'm gonna go ahead and say he probably shouldn't have said that. I mean, that's pretty crazy, but believe it or not, it didn't actually stop there. He also said that pieces of music you can expect will be the Leia theme, Yoda's theme, the Phantom music, and Darth theme. So that all has crazy implications, but first, let's talk about the length of the movie. What does it mean that they are writing 135 minutes of music for The Rise of Skywalker? Well, first I want to say it's important to note that this doesn't necessarily mean that that's the exact length of the soundtrack. It could be changed slightly for the movie. It could even go up or go down. But let's take a look at what the soundtrack was for the previous movies in this saga and then what the length of the film ended up being. So The Force Awakens had a soundtrack of 1 hour and 17 minutes. The movie itself ended up being 2 hours and 18 minutes. The Last Jedi soundtrack was 1 hour and 17 minutes, and the movie ended up being 2 hours and 32 minutes. Now, given that logic, the soundtrack being 2 hours and 15 minutes for The Rise of Skywalker would literally put the length of the movie at over 3 hours. In fact, by using the numbers previously stated, it would put the movie at 3 hours and 15 minutes. Now, like I said before, we don't know how this will exactly work, but it is an indicator of how long The Rise of Skywalker will be, and it really does look like this is going to be the longest Star Wars movie ever, which I think we all are going to be okay with. I mean, if this really is the end of the Skywalker saga, it needs to accomplish a lot from the story perspective, so you need a lot of time. This really is like their end game. And in the same way that Endgame was like, hey, we can make a 3-hour movie, we've earned it, 22 movies in, this is a big, massive thing. Star Wars, one of the biggest movie franchises of all time, been around for more than 40 years, so yeah, I think they deserve over 3 hours. All right, now let's talk about what it means that we're getting these certain themes. I mean, the Leia theme is not surprising. Leia is going to play a pretty significant role in this movie. We know that they are using digital media techniques to basically have Carrie Fisher be in this film again and carry on the story of that character. They're using a lot of footage from The Force Awakens, stuff that was on the cutting room floor, enhancing it digitally. Apparently it's really, really dope. So the Leia theme is not a big surprise. However, Yoda's theme being in the film is very, very interesting. It's very possible that we see Master Yoda yet again in The Rise of Skywalker, and I think it just kind of makes sense. If you're wrapping everything up, Yoda's played such a significant role in these films, I think it's important to have him in there. Now, the Phantom theme is basically another name for the Duel of the Fates, that theme, and a lot of people are saying that is going to be when Kylo Ren and Rey have their massive lightsaber fight. You know, there's rumors of this flash fight thing. We've talked about that before. We've speculated about that, but either way, everybody's pretty sure these two are going to clash once again in The Rise of Skywalker, and it would appear that the Duel of the Fates, or Phantom, is going to be kind of for that that type of a scene. Now, the Darth theme is really interesting because this theme could be for either Darth Vader or Emperor Palpatine or both of them. And there's a lot of crazy ways that this could manifest in the film. We're all pretty sure that Palpatine's coming back, that he's going to be in a younger body or, you know, some kind of crazy thing like that. So the theme itself could be in there for that. But a lot of people have speculated that Anakin or Darth Vader would still play a role in the movie, that we are either going to see scenes from the past during the flash fights that give more context to some things that Vader was doing, or Anakin himself will show up as a Force ghost or something like that. And so either way, like, having the Darth music in the film is going to be pretty epic. So that's the official news out there, guys. John Williams' brother sort of gives us a lot of spoilery type information that we can speculate about. What do you think about this? Do you think Yoda's going to be in the film? I mean, we've heard that the last shot of The Rise of Skywalker is going to blow your mind, and just given the idea that it's wrapping up the Skywalker saga, a lot of people have speculated that we'll see, you know, a lot of the Force ghosts, including Kenobi, Anakin, Yoda, and Luke, all maybe at the end of that film again. Maybe it's more significant than that. Maybe we're learning more about Yoda, his involvement with the prophecy. You know, there's a lot of crazy things that could happen, but let me know what you're thinking about that in the comments section below. Okay, now I want to talk to you guys briefly about a little conspiracy theory I have. And honestly, if you're not like a subscriber or a hardcore watcher, this really isn't for you. Just go ahead, move along, go to the next video. All right, you're still here? Cool, so check this out. Remember last week when I did that video talking about the problems with Star Wars, with Disney Star Wars, you know, talking about some of the things that are going on that are not good? Well, in that video, I proposed a little theory, a piece of speculation, if you will, that it really didn't make sense to me that Disney Star Wars was not focusing on the original trilogy characters in places like Galaxy's Edge, in places like merchandising, and really in the sequel trilogy in general. And I speculated in that video that this could be due to contractual reasons, that it is possible that George Lucas gets some kind of a cut of whatever original trilogy stuff is out there in the parks, merchandising, and in the films. Because otherwise it doesn't really make a lot of sense for Disney to be treating those characters the way they are and not having those characters play a big role in both merchandising and in Galaxy's Edge. And I went on to speculate that it had something to do with when George Lucas came to them with those original drafts, and then people were like, you know, people at Disney and Kathy Kennedy were like, no, we don't really want to deal with that. We want to do our own thing, George. Thanks, but no thanks. Well, interestingly enough, I saw a bunch of videos and reports pop up days after I made that video, which did pretty decent views. It's almost 30,000 views. And a lot of people are saying that there are all these sources running around talking about how this is a real thing, that George Lucas is getting a 25 or 30% chunk from these original trilogy characters and models and designs, and that's why Disney's not doing it. And even more interesting is that a lot of these videos, like particularly this guy Nerderotic, I saw his breakdown of this. He claims to have a source that told him this information. Now, what he is claiming his source told him is almost verbatim what I said in that video. And he even brings up the fact that George Lucas's treatments were rejected by Disney, which is another thing I brought up in that video. And before I did that video, I had never heard anyone bring that point up, even as a possibility. So I'm not saying for sure that people are like taking this point that I made and extrapolating it out and like pretending that it's from sources now and making this big to-do about it. And I certainly can't blame content creators for getting this information from people that are sources and then running with it, because as I said in my video, it actually makes a lot of sense. But either way, I wanted to bring that up because I find it incredibly odd, you know? Honestly, this channel does pretty big numbers in almost all fandoms that we cover, and we don't really get a lot of like exposure out there. You know, we're like Dangerfield, man. We don't get no respect.
That's the story of my life. No respect. I don't get no respect at all. No respect at all.
But it is kind of interesting that we talk about things here sometimes. The channel gets a lot of views, and then other people start to talk about it as well. So I don't know, call it a weird conspiracy if you will, but have you guys noticed that? And what do you think about that now that I'm bringing it to your attention? Your thoughts are important to me. Let me know what you're thinking in the comment section below. All right, that's gonna do it for the Monday show. But I do want to remind you before we get to the nerd card question, go check out the video game channel this week, the Den of Nerds Gaming, because Justin and I are really gonna start ramping up production in, and we're putting out a ton of cool videos this week, talking about all kinds of things. Ninja leaving the mixer, loot boxes, video games being blamed for things they shouldn't be. All sorts of cool stuff on the gaming channel. Go check that out. I'll link it in the description. Okay, now let's check the nerd card before we get out of here. I want to know what composer composed the score for Rogue One. It was not John Williams. It was a different person. He did a great job. Who was it that scored Rogue One? Answer that question in the comments section below. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.